Hey everybody, welcome to a conversation on the Sermon on the Mount. We are in week 9 and we're finally in chapter 6 of Matthew.
Finally, like a bad thing?
Week 9 after the episode.
Did you have chapter 5 fatigue?
We were it was the longest time we've ever been in a single chapter.
A single chapter.
Shingle?
It was.
Before that, our chapters were just.
I can't think of another time where we spent more than 3 weeks on a chapter. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
New chapter, not much changes.
It does change. So the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is starting off. He starts off with the Beatitudes, where he reinvents what is blessed. I think that then and now, there would be one thing that is probably perceived to be the easiest to define. That's when things are good. I don't know if people ever necessarily. I think a lot of people don't give themselves permission to say things are good. I don't know if it's some challenge in that, but so he flips blessed upside down, that it is a in relationship with God reality, not just an external reality. Then he continues on. He talks about the kingdom of God, Jesus being the fulfillment of the law, not the abolishing of the law. He goes into you've heard it said, so turning righteousness from being an external act to being an internal reality. And that was 19 weeks. Or whatever, 17 weeks, and then
All of weeks.
Then we jump into chapter 6, and there is a change where it's the playing out, the practice of righteousness being brought to the surface. And so it's not putting away the internal, it's taking the internal and now bringing it to the external. And he talks about things like giving, prayer, the third one, fasting.
Fasting.
Yeah. And so is that it? We're done?
Nailed it?
Yay!
I put together this tricks to getting people to do things they don't necessarily want to do. And we before we started recording here, we thought if we could trick Greg to do anything. I think, Greg, I don't know if this is the badge you want. I think you are probably the person least likely to be tricked into doing things you don't want to do. You win.
Does that just mean because I'm the least helpful?
No. I don't think it's not I think you want to be helpful. So you don't need to be tricked into being helpful. Maybe you don't want to be helpful, but you want to be helpful.
I think I just don't like being tricked.
Yes.
I have a friend, and me and some other friends always talk about how when they reach out to you, it's 100% of the time it's because they want something, and they always start one of the things that drives me crazy is when somebody goes, "Hey, what are you doing on Saturday?" And you know that they're asking for something, but they're like trying to trick you into saying, "Oh, I'm not doing anything," and then they like back you into, I can't stand it. I've said multiple times, I'm like, if you want my help with something, you need to just ask. You can't trick me into helping you, because that will make me do it less.
Yeah, there is. I'm working with a church planter, and they've been dealing with some space things. It's not us, another church planter. And the owner of the space,
a common thing.
The owner of the space that they're looking to rent for a few months, the owner of the space has one question and has asked it repeatedly: "What is your budget?"
No, I hate that.
And so, I told this church planter, I said, just so you know, the first person who says a number loses.
Always.
Don't be. And I think that in that scenario, because this is a scenario where it's like there is a trickiness happening, and I think that's a good thing to point out in this, is that the whole foundation of what we're talking about is Jesus is not trying to trick us into doing stuff.
Right.
And that's why we spend 16 weeks talking about these internal things from chapter 5. And then when you move to these external, the practices of righteousness, if you feel like you still need to be tricked into doing something, to being generous or helping people that are in need, we're still missing something.
Well, it's about I don't know, if it really boils down to your perception of who Jesus is and what he wants. I think in a friendship, or my parents are the best. I always know when they're in a conversation with them that they do legitimately want what's best for me all the time. And so even points in life where they may have missed the mark or been uninformed or unsure of something, I know, like, benefit of the doubt, like, I trust them that they want what's best for me. And I think, like, if that's your perspective of God or Jesus, it's so much easier to digest some of his words sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you've had, I know people that have had terrible family experiences, and I think, like, sometimes that being skeptical of the people that are supposed to be closest to you can bleed over to your relationship with church, your relationship with God, and I think that can be tough.
Yeah, I think there's a common scenario is that people have had moments where the betrayal of trust then defines all of their trust. And,
For sure.
I think of as somebody who's, I guess I've been a pastor for a while. Some people have had some very bad pastor experiences, so when there's in connection and conversation, they go, "Oh, you're a pastor." I think two common responses. The first one is all of a sudden people say hallelujah and amen a lot.
Start calling you reverend.
They stop cursing.
Yes, it's kind of strange. And then the other is a you can feel like isn't necessarily something said, but like there's a wave of, like, not even angst, but just animosity that can be felt because of atrocity. And that I feel like I'm trying to choose to not be defensive in that moment, but to acknowledge pain is real and trust being broken is real. And hopefully I can be a part of redefining. And that's redefining is not going to be by saying, I think of the statement, "Hey, what are you doing next week?" And so it's not trying to trick them, saying, "No, I am trustworthy." I feel like that's the first sign of somebody being untrustworthy, but not necessarily the case. But I
don't think anybody likes to be tricked.
But if you need to be tricked, does that mean you're unwilling? And if people feel like they need to trick you, does that mean you're kind of giving off an aura of I'm unwilling?
Yeah, I think this will, over this week and the three following, were these practices of righteousness where Jesus calls them to give and help the needy outside of being seen. Let the reward of God seen, who sees everything that is unseen, be enough. He talks about praying, and instead of praying where it's a spectacle, just pray, and don't pray endlessly, just pray simply. This is where the Lord's Prayer is stated. And then he talks about fasting again, to this idea of being let it be a spectacle that you are so righteous, so holy, that you're suffering for God. And then just his repetition in this is leading to this moment where we would say, God, I trust you, and I trust the reward that comes from your seeing, not the world seeing. And I think that trust is, I've been thinking over the last 10 days, like, God, what is your reward? And trying to really verbalize that or think about that, place that, what do I actually think that the reward that comes from God? I have words, but I don't, blessing, grace, relationship, but I don't know what, if you're trying to explain to somebody else, what is the rewards that come from God? I don't know what comes out of your mouths.
I usually don't talk about it because I don't actually know if it's. I think there's promises. I don't know if I would call them rewards. I feel like a lot of, in my experience, the church or the Christianity or the modern expression of Christianity that misses the mark is the one that's so focused on what they get out of it.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I feel like Jesus talks about pride so often, and that's like adjacent to selfishness. And I think if you're doing faith just for what you get out of it, then he may have missed the mark. And at the same time, I don't think anybody can do anything without some sort of selfish motives involved. So I think that's at play. But I don't know. I think I feel like if you start the conversation, if you're trying to convert somebody or whatever, evangelize to somebody, and you start with, you get to go to heaven, and you say all these things, that's tricking. That is the tricking.
Yeah.
You're promising things that you don't actually know to be true.
I do think that God does reward, but I think that I've been again thinking about this quite a bit and trying to think of is there a biblical narrative that really like if A and B, then you get C reward from God. That's not really a commonplace. There is faith. There's some response, some action. There is some realities that come through obedience. These things, but I think the goal that I want to get to, and I think it's through the repetition of these first 4 sections of chapter 6, is that if I'm working on what is internal, maybe I'll actually do these things even if there isn't a reward.
I think at least for me, I think the reward mindset is a reframe of what is already. You look back and you see, or even now, you just look outside and you see God's creation and you see the place that we get to be and you see the people we get to interact with, and there is reward to just being following Jesus, being a kind human to the people around you. There is reward there, and I think the idea of going, I have all this stuff, or there is this stuff that I could have, or I live in this place or whatever, and then reframing it to, well, you can tie that back to God's provision and reward in it. I think there's a lot to that.
I think another piece of this too is within moral therapeutic deism. It's like that a lot of people are subscribed to is there's almost like this formula, like A and B equals C, and the whole Old Testament hammers it in over and over again. Is that like the story of Job? Bad things aren't happening in Job because Job did bad things. Good things aren't happening in Job because Job did good things. Yeah. The Israelites are not God's chosen people because they merited it, and so there's not this like A and B response. And sometimes horrible things happen, and there doesn't seem to be a reason or a driving force. There's no, there's no supernatural behind it. Sometimes amazing things happen, and the stars just align. It's something that even Jesus in the New Testament, when there's a blind man from birth, and they're like, "Oh, who sinned? Whose fault was it?"
Yeah,
and it's like it's no one's fault, except for God's going to get glory out of this. And so, I think when it comes to like reward, a lot of times when we talk about what's the reward for living a life that follows Jesus' command, we want the reward to be the constant.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that we miss in that is that the only constant in the equation is God and God's presence, and good things and bad things will happen for reasons or seemingly no reason at all. And the constant is that God will show up.
I think to hold that, and you come back to this, I really like this question, but why is the reward of being seen doing something generous so tempting? Yeah. No. What is the reward of being seen being generous? And I think it goes back to like Greg over the last 28 weeks has talked about selfishness. Because it just is a recurring theme of this, but like I think like it's so tied to that when you're like the production of maybe talk about the trumpets. I put a little picture of what you talked about.
Yeah, there's
the temple.
Jesus says, I don't know word for word off the top of my head, but essentially says, when you give, don't blow the trumpets, or don't make the trumpet sound, or something like that.
Announce it with trumpets.
Announce it with trumpets. And so I think most of us probably picture playing the trumpet. There's some theologians that actually think that it was actually a picture of the Pharisees who there was these collection boxes in the temple, and they kind of looked like trumpets. They were skinny at the top and large at the bottom so that people can put their hand in. And the Pharisees would come in there with big bags of coins and just very slowly drop them in so that people could see them and hear them. And so people are thinking Jesus kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, don't give in the way that these Pharisees do it so that the whole world can hear it and see it, which I think is fascinating. I don't know if that's true or right or not, but I think it's interesting.
if there's the calling is to do it in completely in secret, to the idea of anonymity almost as an extreme. I just think the question that is for our own reflection is, what does it say about me when I won't help somebody unless it's seen? What does it say about me when I'll help somebody when it's seen? Those things are pretty intense answers.
Yeah.
Well, that's the definition of integrity. Doing the
Yeah.
right thing when no one's there to see it.
Yeah.
Or if they are there to see it. Just doing it.
I think that it's a good measure. I mean, there is for this week, we're talking about giving to those in need. But will you, in our coffee shop world, I think about the moment of it's so easy to, not even necessarily about being seen, but it's so easy to step over a piece of trash 100 times. Just like, I wonder when they will pick it up. And then all of a sudden, the they becomes me only when somebody asks or sees or doesn't. Obliviousness is a good partner to selfishness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the calling in this, again, Rich will wrap it in a minute, but I've just been asking this question of myself over and over again. It's like, do I need to be tricked into helping those people that are in need? Or do I have, what's happening internally? Is that shaping the value of doing what is important in helping people in need?
Yeah, I think I've said this a couple times already, not today, but in the last week, but the emphasis on it is practicing righteousness no matter what, not to be seen by others, not to get that reward that Jesus is talking about in this, the reward in full, but just to take all the stuff already that Jesus has taught, internal change, and do it. And it doesn't, like, if you do it and someone sees you, that's fine. Like, just don't do it so they can see you. If you do it and you're by yourself, great. Like, the goal is not to announce it. The goal is to be righteous. And I think that's the big deal.
Yeah, well said.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.